All right, so this is the Fresh Squeezed Opera podcast. I am Maggie.
And I'm Jillian.
And we are on today with Jillian's friend Dean, who is a conductor. So, Dean, why don't you, just to start off, tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself as a conductor.
As a conductor, I didn't necessarily I didn't go to school planning on being a conductor. It was always something that was in the back of my mind. It always interested me. I started doing it just kind of casually in high school with, high school wind ensemble and choir, and it was just like a thing I would do. And there was one point my senior year where my choir director had a hematoma and was out for about 6 weeks, and I had to run rehearsals, and I just had so much fun doing it. I had so much fun working with people and, just trying to go for really getting great sound, and it just kind of, it was really fun. But, I came to school. I went to the new school for jazz and contemporary music, kind of going and wanting to be a jazz saxophone player, and about a year into it, I was having, really enjoying what I was doing, but I realized that I was listening to more classical music than jazz, getting more excited about classical music concerts, and studying a lot of scores, and I just kind of thought, well, maybe I could actually try doing this. So I started just kind of studying up at Manus, with one of their conducting teachers, Rudy Palmer, who is an amazing teacher.
Like privately?
Privately and in his conducting class.
Oh, okay.
Because Manus and the new school are connected. Was that how you were able to? Awesome.
Yeah. And I just, I guess I was the only person at the jazz school who was really, or the jazz contemporary music school who was really seriously into conducting. So people started asking me to conduct pieces that they had written for large ensemble, and started doing more and more, and ended up doing some more repertory stuff. And by the time my friend Daniel kind of had the idea to start Loft Opera, I had been doing quite a bit of conducting, and he came to me, and I was very, very excited about the idea and said absolutely it would be amazing to do so.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about that project with Daniel?
Well, Loft Opera is it's an opera company that we started about a year ago, and the whole purpose was to perform operas in loft spaces. And we did our first production in the end of May. We did Don Giovanni. And our second production is this coming Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're doing Le Nozze di Figaro.
Wonderful. Congratulations. How exciting.
Thank you.
So what would you say is the difference between conducting as just an instrumental piece versus an opera?
Opera is extremely collaborative. When you're doing a concert piece, basically everyone is looking to you for how they're going to play, and the orchestra definitely is in opera, but the singers have very, very strong opinions about their arias, as they should, and they're the ones who are up there singing them, and for me it's very important to really work with the singers and make it a very collaborative experience, not so much a do what I tell you type thing, which is why I love doing it. For me, it's extremely rewarding.
Wonderful. Are there any big challenges you've had to face with conducting, or is there an aspect of conducting you find most challenging?
Yes, all of it.
All right, fair enough.
There is nothing easy about it. Knowing the score, learning the score, knowing the parts, knowing exactly what goes awry when something goes awry and how to fix it, and always giving very clear cues, and especially with, our opera setting where the orchestra is not necessarily right by the singer, connecting the two and not letting the tempo drag. I could go on for hours about
you find there's some sort of like gratifying aspect of balancing all of those different variables at once?
I mean, absolutely. The feeling, the emotion, the way you can emotionally connect to the music is just amazing. And I feel like, when you're conducting, you are absolutely immersed in everything, and you get that feeling. And for me, at least, while I'm doing, like after I do it, I don't really remember the performance. I mean, I remember what went wrong, and I remember the feeling of certain things, which is always, there's very little that matches up to it.
Right. And when you say you don't remember the performance, is it kind of like you're losing your sense of time or yourself?
Kind of. I mean, it's you just have to. It takes every single ounce of focus you have, and especially, I'm certainly not the most experienced conductor, so, every time I do something, I'm just, trying to focus as hard as I can, and afterwards it almost feels like remembering a dream you had 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of performers feel that way about a lot of things. I don't think that's necessarily specific to conducting. Right.
Well, I think it certainly is an interesting point you're bringing up about all the different variables, though, because you really do have to focus on so many different things going on, and you're in most cases, I would say, everyone's looking to you as a leader. So you're sort of leading the way for the music, and it's interesting that then what you're describing is sort of getting lost in it as well. That's a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
You're new to conducting larger ensembles, and particularly opera.
Correct.
And what do you think of... So that might affect your answer to my following question of what do you think of the Loft Opera's choice in their repertoire?
Well, considering I was highly involved in choosing the repertoire, we started with, our goal is to do, just a wide range of pieces. I would like to do everything from Monteverdi to newly commissioned works. We started with something like Giovanni because it's just a terrific piece. It's something that's known by opera lovers and kind of known by people who are not super into opera, but everyone's at least heard of it, and most musicians at least know a bit of it. And it's very doable with young singers and young musicians. It certainly is not easy. There's nothing easy in Mozart. But, we've kind of figured it would be a good starting point. And once we had a success with that, we figured do another Mozart. We know how to do it. And, we can do this. We can do this one better than we did the last one. To make sure that we're going up, and after this, move on to something else. So, I'm excited to tackle different repertoire, but getting to learn these two pieces has been just an unbelievably terrific experience for me.
My only problem is, I just did an opera. I just played in Gounod's Romeo and Juliet over the weekend, and there are countless opera companies popping up. I mean, you're talking to two people who are starting contemporary opera company, but there's countless opera companies popping up right now that are just doing the oldies, and they're good, but I don't know.
I completely agree. And that's why I'm going to we all want to do contemporary pieces. Like, that's absolutely something we all want to do, and I would like to do that sooner than later. Our thought process in starting with the Mozarts was, start with something that makes people want to come see your company. Once they do, after the first one, give them something that's in a similar vein, but pull it off. Try to push where you can go with it. get them to the point where they will trust you to take them into more unknown places?
I mean, if you're going, the problem with that is I'm taking a marketing class right now, and you're not like, you're all over the place. What are you selling yourself as besides an amateur opera company? If you do that, I'm not saying that's what you are. You have a lot to offer. You guys have a lot to offer, especially you, Dean, because you're a talented musician, composer, and conductor. But if you just not diversify yourself like that, it's just going to seem like another amateur, all over the place opera company.
Well, I think, our thought process is, not to jump from, Nozze di Figaro to, a Robert Ashley opera or something like that, to gradually go there. I mean,
but even Robert Ashley, he's already an established composer. What about the emerging composer?
To me, I mean, this is something that I feel very, very strongly about.
You and me.
Yeah, no.
We are emerging composers.
It's an important thing to do, and we really, really want to do that. I personally don't think it necessarily has to be, one or the other. I think groups that specialize are great, but I mean, I think there are great groups around, especially in New York, that can do both and that do repertoire and modern contemporary pieces equally well. And I feel what's most important is that you present something that you genuinely feel you're presenting for a good reason. And I think if you're doing that and if you're working really hard on it, it doesn't necessarily matter whether it was written 200 years ago or 200 days ago.
Well, I wonder, because Dean, Jillian and I actually run into this a little bit. Not so much in terms of a chronological aspect of when things were composed, but there is always, I think what you're talking about is the goal is to have an audience, and you want them to trust you so that you can take risks. And so, as you said, starting with operas that are more well-known, more accessible, is always a safe route to getting attention and getting people to come. And then, as you said, if you can do it to the very best of your ability, then you started to build a rapport. You started to build trust with that audience. And I think it's a very smart business move to make. I do wonder, since I don't know anything about your company, does the Loft aspect of the Loft Opera provide any sort of specific aspect to it, or
extremely? I mean, that was a big part of it. Is
it's accessible,
it's accessible, and there's a big part of the reason we founded it was because we knew there would be a lot of people that we think thought would love opera but don't have the means or the drive to really check it out themselves. But there is, people saw, well, there's an opera in a loft that sounds like something that sounds cool. And we actually got quite a bit of those who ended up, and that was so flattering to me. It was people coming up to me after the performance saying, like, I just thought this would be like a cool little strange Brooklyn thing, but now I'm going to go home and actually check out opera because this was cool. So I think that is a big part of it.
And I actually think a big part of it too is how you developed yourself in Brooklyn. I think that's really important because you're setting the groundstone for being a part of the community.
And yeah, I mean, it very much is a project that's kind of based in community. And also, I want to specify that that starting with the Mozarts definitely was much more for me than just like a business plan to get an audience and then go off. That's kind of why. But I mean, the reason that we started with was for a big part of me was just because, you know, they were operas that we thought that we would love to present, that, you know, these pieces are amazing, you know, the stories are completely timeless, and the music is just so beautiful, and we've found singers that we really believe can show something through this, and, you know, for me, that doing these pieces is a great experience, and yes, I mean, I'm firmly an advocate of really devoting a lot of time to presenting contemporary music, and it's something that I want to make a very big part of this company. But it's been I'm kind of talking myself in circles here, but there's both the audience consideration part, but also the fact that, you know, we wanted to bring this music that we love to a wider group of people.
I mean, sell something the right way, and you'll have an audience.
Yes, yeah, no, I agree. That's...
So, I was talking with my coworkers, and I work at a property management company, so not music people at all. Most of them have probably never seen an opera, and I told them I was going to see Anna Nicole the opera, and they thought that was a really cool idea.
Absolutely.
And it was the subject matter.
Completely, absolutely.
And it wasn't like this antiquated idea that you have to explain because it's not relevant to today. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Don Giovanni. I love Le Nozze. You know, I almost think in order to get new audiences, because it is sort of dying, Exhibit A is the New York City Opera. Because what they did wrong wasn't presenting contemporary opera. It was not presenting contemporary opera.
And I agree with that. And I think we're arguing the same point from two different sides. Cause
we're not arguing. We're discussing.
What?
We're not arguing. We're discussing.
No, exactly. Arguing is the wrong word, but I think we have very similar opinions on this.
Yeah. Now, Dean and I were in a Dungeons & Dragons group, and I was the Dungeon Master, and he was an elf. And I have to say, if you were to write some type of piece for our little campaign, which was 4 people, and it was really weird, what kind of form and orchestration, etc., would it be a symphony?
That's an excellent question.
This is good. I need to think for a quick sec.
I think it would have like at least 4 bassoons in it.
That's
All right.
A bassoon
Jillian can post it.
A bassoon heavy thing would be very good. Definitely.
Although I would like to interject, my question is why haven't you two already collaborated to make this
at Dungeons and Dragons, the symphony?
D&D. It's just makes sense.
For some reason, I'm hearing a piece for a large orchestra with a chorus and 4 mezzo-soprano soloists.
You know
and
what?
That's all that's coming to mind.
That might be because whenever we played, Lee played that one piece that was like based on a Holocaust.
Yeah, the Goretzky.
Yeah. That might be because he kept playing that while we were playing.
That's true, and we listened to a lot of Sibelius,
yeah.
the American Violin Concerto, and...
I don't think you can get much nerdier than that. Playing Dungeons and Dragons, listening to Sibelius and Goretzky. It was fun.
It was.
Again, you guys should start that back up. I don't know what all this business school and opera performances is about. I really think that you had it all figured out. Sibelius and D&D.
So, Dean, what would you say you've learned from conducting Don Giovanni that you're going to apply? Like, is there any big lesson that you've learned?
Absolutely. And, there's a lot more that I need to learn, as we all know. Mainly just, preparation. You can never be too prepared, and just really on how to follow a singer, as a conductor, like when to follow and when to take the lead. And of course, I'm still working that out, but that's definitely something I've been really learning a lot about, when to let the singer lead on a phrase, when you need to push the tempo under the singer, kind of stuff like that. And I guess just structural concerns, when you're doing a piece that's that length. And both of our productions were abridged, and Giovanni was abridged a bit more than Noce is. And
were they abridged or were they just cut?
Pardon?
Were they abridged or were they just cut? Like, because, having...
Julian, what's the difference?
Having some cuts in your opera, like, that's normal. Like, the Met probably
just normal cut, like an opera company would normally do.
Yeah. But this was abridged? Like, there was, like, a substantial chunk taken out?
Giovanni, there was a lot out of the second act. Figaro, we're pretty much doing the cuts that are normally done. I don't think we're really cutting anything that is not pretty commonly cut.
I agree with that. I think that for contemporary audiences, it's necessary to cut opera.
And it's just, a lot of it just comes down to time and budget. Like, we don't have the money to pay for enough rehearsal time with an orchestra to do that much music, and to pay singers for long, and enough to really learn an entire 3.5-hour opera.
I mean, it's telling that you're paying at all.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
So how big is the orchestra that you're dealing with?
It's about a 23-piece orchestra for Noce.
Okay, so like 2 winds each.
We're using an orchestral reduction that is for 1 flute, 1 oboe, 1 bassoon, 2 clarinets, 2 horns, 1 trumpet, timpani, and strings.
Oh, nice. 2 horns, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Maggie?
Well, I was going to ask, can you give us a little information about your administrative side and your development side? Where do you guys get your funding? How does that model work? That's
my associates, Danielle Ferris and Brianna Mauri, they front up that side of things, and myself and our co-music director, Leticia Ruccolo, we kind of head up the musical operation. Our fundraising for Giovanni, we did a party, we did an Indiegogo crowdsourcing campaign, and we did private funding, and of course ticket sales, and we sell drinks at the shows. This time, our funding came pretty much all privately, and on ticket sales, drink sales.
Wonderful. Well, props to you guys. That's great.
Thank you. It's it's certainly a stressful process.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got a good handle on it. That should take us quite nicely into the next question. Do you have any thoughts on the departure of New York City Opera and anything about that situation?
I mean, it's very sad to see them go. I mean,
that's what everybody says first. Yeah,
they were the opera company with balls. They would do stuff. I mean, they could have gone. I think, as Gillian was saying, they could have done more out there stuff and more contemporary stuff. But they were definitely, of the two big companies in New York, the ones who would do more adventurous programming and, work with lesser-known singers. And it was a great thing for the city, and a great thing for the people who were lucky enough to work with them. And it's very sad to see them go. And
yeah, that was nicely sad. That was really nice. It's true. It makes me sad.
What did you say?
I said that was really nicely said.
Oh,
okay. Thank you.
I just said it in a weird way. as I am wont to do.
Well, our last question, Dean, is what advice do you have for small up-and-coming music ensembles?
Just, I guess, and I don't think I'm necessarily in a position to give much advice because, we're still very fledgling and I'm still figuring out quite a lot for myself, but just never lose sight of what you're trying to do. Because there are things that are going to happen that are going to suck, and you're going to, we all say, why the hell are we doing this? This is not worth the stress, but, this is so important to remember that you're doing this, regardless of what your turnout is, or what your reviews say, or if you don't get any reviews, or if, the third act completely falls apart, knock on wood. Hope that, we're all doing a great thing, and we're all doing this together. I really don't think there's any place, especially now, with the way where music is and how hard it is to get money to do anything. I really don't think there's any place for competition in the music world, especially among people who are trying to organize stuff, not through the institution and on their own, that we're all really, really striving for the same thing and doing this together in trying to make something great and make the world a better place and reach people and, do something that's good for ourselves. And also that it just, we all need to work our asses off if we want to be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great final statement there. I was going to say it was very beautifully put, but that last statement sort of adds the true grain of salt. It's that you really have to work hard. And it sounds like you guys are doing it, which is great.
Well, thank you. I
really, really great. Yeah.
I'm so excited to see what you guys end up doing, because this is definitely, from what I've heard, this sounds like this is a project. Your project is something about which I'm very excited.
You're welcome to come and help us.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, if you have any tips,
if you have any time,
we'll be in touch
in June.
We're always, as I said, we're all in this together.
That's right. Oh, just like
as the great Zac Efron once put it. So I have one last question. So Dean works with my boyfriend Lee at the Juilliard store, and I know that Lee is pretty much on first name basis with David Hyde Pierce, which I am super, super jealous of. Are you also friends with David Hyde Pierce?
I have never had the pleasure of speaking to him. I helped him buy a piano score once, but that was it. So I do not share Lee's fortune of knowing David Hyde Pierce that well.
And for those of you who do not know who David Hyde Pierce is by name, you will know him by the name of Niles Crane from the Frasier show, Frasier. Or from A Wet Hot American Summer, which is an amazing film.
Also excellent.
Yeah.
What does he say? He says, I need to be with the indoors.
Yeah. That's such a good movie. Okay. It's been quite a day. And, Dean, best of luck on your opera coming up.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And same to you guys. And please keep me posted.
Yeah,
really
it's going to be a while for us, but
yeah. You got Thursday to worry about. So.
That's good. Yeah.
It's there.
And thank you so much for interviewing.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you guys. This was really fun.
Have a good night, Dean.
You too.
I'll probably see you around.
Yep, absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.